Hi. How did you meet Buddy Holly?
Well, we did a show at the, it's now the Blue Cross Arena. And back then it was the War Memorial. And had the whole band up there, the Marvels, and my brother Dick was on drums. And Paul Anka was playing the drums backstage. And got to meet him, and he went down and brought Buddy up. They were good friends. And we got talking, and he said to go to Clovis, New Mexico, and do my recordings, because I was a songwriter. He knew I wanted to come out with some new songs, because I was signed up with Choral. So Choral sent me to Detroit on a tour, and Buffalo, Detroit, and up through Canada. And lo and behold, his manager was on the same tour.
That was Norman Petty.
Norman Petty, and I believe he had Terry Nolan, who had Patty Baby at the time. And got talking to him, and we became good friends. I say good friends because we had a lot of time. We had a lot of time. There's a lot of dead time. And he said, "Why don't you come out to Clovis?" And I said, "Okay." So I actually borrowed the money to fly out there and recorded with Buddy. And it was on his birthday, September 7th. And he had just bought his new Cadillac, so we all went out to see that. That was a big deal. And I don't know how long he'd been married. He might have been married maybe a month or two, but it was
Maria, right?
Maria, yeah, like on a honeymoon there, you know. So we were in studio, and I went through about 20 songs, and one that I had gone through with Vi Petty, who played piano and organ, was Bayou Baby. And I wanted to do Bayou Baby so bad. And he and Norman both passed on it. But Vi loved it, and she played piano on it, and it sounded great with the piano. So he ended up taking What Are You Gonna Do? And Norman, I think, kind of picked I Sent You Roses, because it sounded like the Norman Petty trio. He added the organ, Buddy played guitar, George Atwood was on bass, Bo Clark was on drums, and
That's a pretty nice lineup.
yeah, and I have been told by fans that it's the closest thing to hearing Buddy, because he did fill in for the Norman Petty trio for a guitarist. It's the closest they've seen, because they never recorded together. But that recording, they said they can imagine what he sounded like with the Norman Petty trio, and I thought that was pretty cool.
I talked to you about this stuff before, but you know, you talk about these people like Buddy Holly, and I know recently you were telling me about hearing the Everly Brothers down in the hallway getting ready for one of the gigs, and it's like these people are absolute legends.
Oh, yeah.
And I truly believe that had you continued your career, you'd be mentioned in the same sentence as any one of those guys at this particular point. But when we were talking the other day, you were saying, "Oh, they're not legends to me," or they are maybe now that I can look at it, you know, in retrospect. But at the time, they're just a bunch of slugs working with me, or you know, doing the same thing I was doing,
Exactly.
trying to get a career happening.
Right. That was the feeling I had. You mentioned seeing them there.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the hallway. They came up walking through the hallway. They both had their guitars. And they started singing in the hallway, and their reverb from that hallway, we heard them upstairs and went down to see them. They were singing their forthcoming release, and I forget what it was, but boy, it sounded fantastic.
I bet it would.
But we were all just young kids trying to make a career, trying to do something in music. And you're just one of the guys, you know, and they treated you as such. So,
Well, I know. Now, when you were working with Buddy, and you stopped working for him for a little while, it wasn't that much longer before he was killed in the plane crash, right?
it was about 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months. I know that at some point towards the end of his career, he and Norm Petty, who was his manager and his producer, had a falling out because my understanding was Norm, who was producing some of his stuff, wanted to get some songwriting credits with some of Buddy's songs. And I was just wondering, when you were working with both of them, how was your relationship, or how was their relationship together at that point?
Actually, it was good.
It was good?
Yeah. I was surprised. Norm spoke highly of him. Buddy spoke highly of Norman. And there was regrets that they were breaking up or had broke up. And I know Norman felt that he had made the money and had done right by him. And you know, you mentioned the co-writing, and I know there's a lot written about that. But what they don't write about is the fact in that era, a lot of managers were asking for to be on the song royalties as part of their commission. And at the time, it was accepted if the artist went along with it. Myself, I wouldn't have gone along with it. And I had an opportunity where I was in the studio with Nick Nixon and at BBF, and this other guy, one of the DJs, and the DJ was laughing, saying, "Hey, you ought to get half his royalties." And he said, "No way, no how," because Nixon was really a tremendous man of integrity.
Now, that's a sentence you don't normally hear. Nixon was a man of integrity, but of course we'd be talking about a different Nixon.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's Nick's son.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Okay, I want to get into something you've done after all that. You know, once you stopped doing that, I met you through the Songwriter Advocate.
Right.
And the Songwriter Advocate, TSA, was an organization that you put together to help people who wanted to write songs learn their craft, to help them navigate through the waters of legalities that they might have to go through. Not necessarily help them find a publisher, but know what they had to do to look for a publisher. What motivated you to help other songwriters at that point?
I love songwriters. And you do too.
I absolutely do.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I love to hear their music. I love their lyrics. I love the tunes they come up with. And I love talking to them about the experience that they're having doing it and that. And I felt if I could help people with the craft and the business of songwriting, then I would. And so I did. And
That's great.